Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is not happy about the fact that the Biden administration is not doling out ivermectin for unvaccinated COVID-19 patients who are in the hospital. So now, while appearing on Real America's Voice, Greene trotted out the oft-repeated statement that ivermectin is good because it won a Nobel Prize. Take a look.
Ivermectin is a very good drug. Its safetiness has been proven for decades. It even won a Nobel Peace Prize. And it is absolutely irresponsible for the Biden administration, the CDC, Dr. Fauci, and any of these doctors to be advising people to not prescribe it.
Safetiness. Its safetiness has been proven, y'all. You know how the safetiness has been proven? Because it won a Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, so let me just get off with the obligatory, it's actually deeply irresponsible to prescribe drugs for things to, that those drugs don't actually treat. Okay, so let's just, let's put that out there, okay? So now, if you have worms, if you've got river blindness, which is actually horrifying because it's literal worms in your eyes that make you go blind, I mean, ivermectin does a great job of treating those parasitic infections. In fact, the scientists William C. Campbell and Satoshi Omura actually won the 2015 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for their work in showing that ivermectin can be very effective in treating against infections caused by roundworm parasites. So now the issue with what she's saying is drugs do not win Nobel Peace Prizes. Drugs do not win Nobel Prizes at all. It is the people who discover or study these drugs that do. Okay? So I'm just making this distinction. All right? Now, again, as I just mentioned, they did win the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. So there are different things. Drugs cannot win peace prizes. People can win peace prizes. Drugs cannot win medicine prizes or physiology or medicine. It is the people behind that. So, I'm just letting you know here. So, all right. So obviously, a couple of real big mistakes in everything that Marjorie Taylor Greene had said. But none of that even matters when you look at the context. So now, ivermectin being safe and effective in humans for deworming purposes does not mean that it works on viruses like the novel coronavirus, which is what we're dealing with, which causes COVID-19. It's almost like, think about it this way. Taking ivermectin for COVID-19 is like taking cold medicine for a broken toe. Okay? It's sort of like that. Now, of course, some of the problems with ivermectin, especially if you take too much or with other things, is that it could cause some other different health issues, especially if you take a dose that is, for example, reserved for an equine, which is another word for a horse, or some other kind of pack animal, for example, a sheep or a cow or something. Okay, so you really gotta be careful. There's been a few cases of overdoses as a result of this. All right. So that said, we know the real reason why the right continues to push ivermectin. America's frontline doctors. Okay. So now America's frontline doctors worked in tandem with a small group of healthcare companies, right? So the things that they did is that they first sowed distrust in the COVID-19 vaccine. They then used that distrust in order to dupe tens of thousands of people into seeking ineffective treatments for the disease, and then sell consultations and millions of dollars worth of medications so that they could pocket the money. All right? So, in fact, it was very, very lucrative. It's been very lucrative. According to The Intercept, 72,000 people paid at least $6.7 million for COVID-19 consultations. promoted by America's frontline doctors and vaccine conspiracist Simone Gold. So, on average, the price for a consultation is $90. And then, of course, for the prescription, well, that costs even more money. It's all a scam. And so there's a couple of possibilities here. For one, either Marjorie Taylor Greene is in on it, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is just literally that stupid. I mean, really, take your pick. Take your pick. Now, it would be funny if it ended there. However, unfortunately, it didn't. 99% of all recent COVID-19 deaths have been among unvaccinated people, unvaccinated Americans. So it's actually incredibly irresponsible to push these fake cures for cash, not to mention super unethical, when of course we have something that does work, and that's effective vaccines. But unfortunately, of course, this grift only works if you pump out this disinformation, like, for example, taking information from the VAERS system. So the VAERS system is, of course, the vaccine, adverse effect reporting system. And so people can anonymously call in or report these things. There's an online form that you can fill out saying, oh, I had a reaction, my vaccine or whatever. I took the vaccine and then, or my aunt's, my cousin's friend in Trinidad took this vaccine and got swollen balls. They can report that to the VAERS system. It's not really proof of any sort of link between vaccination and adverse effects. VAERS is used as a tool, though, to look at possible correlations. Now, you also have sensationalist headlines when someone has a very rare adverse reaction. And it does happen. To say that there's never an adverse reaction to a vaccine would be being dishonest, of course. In fact, there is news that the J&J vaccine has had some adverse reactions. For example, let me go to the CDC. The CDC notes that there is a plausible causal relationship between the J&J Janssen COVID-19 vaccine and a rare and serious adverse event, blood clots with low platelets, which is thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, or TTS. Now, in case you're worried about that, I wouldn't be. It actually only occurs at a rate of 7 per 1 million vaccinated women between the ages of 18 to 49. Women 50 years and older and men of all ages, this adverse effect happens to be even more rare. So basically, at the end of the day, the odds are you have about a 7 in 1 million chance of experiencing or dying from this very rare event. Yet you are much more likely to die from COVID-19. In fact, you die at a rate of about 11 times more than people who are vaccinated. So, however, of course, none of that is likely to convince Marjorie Taylor Greene of her or any of her demented followers, because they just so desperately want to be correct. They will cling on to these falsehoods literally to their grave, which is likely, of course, where a decent number of these people will end up before all of this is over. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.